All right, ready to dive in today?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Because today we are tackling a real classic, Plato's Euthyphro.
Oh yeah, this one is a favorite.
So we are diving deep into excerpts from this dialogue
Mm-hmm.
and really trying to get a handle on these huge concepts like piety and justice. Like, what does it even mean to live a moral life?
Well, and what's so cool about this one, it's not just like a lecture from Plato, like, here are my ideas.
Right.
It's Socrates in classic form, just going head to head with this guy, Euthyphro.
Oh, tell me more about this Euthyphro character.
Oh, he's something else. I think you'll like this.
Okay.
So first things first, we're in ancient Athens.
Okay.
Outside a courthouse, no less.
A courthouse. Drama already.
Right, Socrates and Euthyphro just hanging out. And here's the kicker. They're both involved in these legal cases, right?
Right.
And the common theme, piety.
Piety. Piety. You kidding? Socrates, Mr. Philosophy himself, is accused of impiety.
I know, right? Total irony. But Euthyphro, oh boy, he takes piety to a whole other level.
Okay, I gotta know, what's Euthyphro's deal?
He is convinced, like totally convinced, that he is doing the right thing, the pious thing,
Okay.
by bringing murder charges against, wait for it, his own father.
Whoa, what family drama in ancient Athens. This is intense.
Mhm.
So what's the backstory? What happened? Why is Euthyphro taking his dad to court?
All right, so picture this. It all goes down on Euthyphro's family farm,
Okay.
like way out on the island of Naxos.
Okay.
They had this laborer working for them, and
Right.
well, he'd had a little too much to drink and
Yeah.
ended up killing another worker.
Oh, so just a tragic accident.
You'd think, right. But Euthyphro's father, he tries to do the right thing.
Okay.
Ties the laborer up, puts him in a ditch for safekeeping.
Okay.
He's going to consult a religious expert,
Okay.
figure out the proper way to handle this.
Makes sense.
But before he can do anything, the poor guy in the ditch, he dies from exposure.
Oh, wow. So a series of really unfortunate events.
Right.
But I'm still not seeing the murder charge.
Oh, but Euthyphro is sure. He insists that his father's inaction, not dealing with the laborer immediately, that's murder. And get this, the whole family's like, dude, this is insane. You're prosecuting your own father.
Oh, wow.
They think he's totally in the wrong, but Euthyphro is completely unwavering. This is true piety to him.
And that's where Socrates comes in, right? The ultimate questioner can't resist a good philosophical dilemma, especially when it involves piety.
Oh, absolutely. Socrates is like a kid in a candy store. This is prime time for him to dissect a juicy philosophical conundrum, you know?
He sees right through people. So how does he approach Euthyphro?
He goes straight for the jugular. He's like, okay, Euthyphro, you're clearly a man of conviction, so tell me, what is piety anyway? Define it.
Boom. And just like that, the stage is set for a philosophical showdown. Socrates, the master of questioning, wants Euthyphro to define something as complex as piety.
It's like intellectual gladiators entering the arena. This is where the fun really begins.
I bet. And speaking of fun, I think it's time for us to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, listeners, because things are about to get really interesting. We'll be back in a flash with more of our deep dive into Plato's Euthyphro. So, it's like we're asking, is there some kind of universal rule book for morality? Or are we just going along with what we've been told?
Exactly. Does morality come from outside of us, dictated by higher powers?
All right.
Or is it something deeper, like built into the fabric of existence, as Socrates really gets us thinking?
He does. So how does Socrates approach this question with Euthyphro? Does he have any, philosophical tricks up his sleeve?
Socrates, oh, he's got a whole bag of tricks. He's like a philosophical magician. But in this case, he starts with these analogies. He's trying to help Euthyphro and us listeners see the difference between an action and what that action creates.
Okay, I like where this is going. Give me an example.
All right, so think about something being carried. It's being carried because someone is carrying it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not like the thing just decided to be carried all on its own, right?
Right. It doesn't just inherently become carryable.
Yeah.
It's the act of carrying that makes it so.
Exactly. And Socrates, he uses this to show that something isn't pious because the gods love it.
Oh, I see. So it's not the god's love that makes something pious, it's the other way around.
You got it. There's something else, some inherent quality that makes a thing pious, and that's what makes the gods love it. He's really challenging our assumptions here.
It's like if I see a beautiful sunset and say, wow, that's beautiful, my saying it doesn't make it beautiful, right? It was already beautiful.
Exactly. It's just our way of recognizing something that already exists.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does Euthyphro take this?
Well, you can imagine Euthyphro's a little flustered at this point.
I bet.
Socrates has a way of poking holes in our comfortable assumptions. But Euthyphro tries to counter.
He doesn't give up easily.
Oh, no, not at all. But every time, Socrates is right there, patiently unraveling his arguments, showing where the logic breaks down.
And what I love about this dialogue is that it's not really about who's right or wrong. It's about that process of questioning.
Right. It's like we're right there with them, trying to grasp these really big, important concepts.
Absolutely. It's about looking inward and examining our own beliefs. It's like
Yeah.
he's saying, hey, are you sure that's what you believe? Why?
Exactly. And just when we think we're getting somewhere, the dialogue takes another turn.
Oh, rapid.
Euthyphro, he throws out his initial idea and decides to try a new tactic.
Okay, what's his new strategy?
He's like, all right, maybe piety is a part of justice.
Interesting. He's trying to ground piety in something a little more concrete than just the gods love it.
Right, like
Yeah.
trying to find a more solid foundation for it. But he still hasn't quite hit the mark. He then goes on to say that piety is attending to the gods.
Attending to the gods. What does that even mean?
Right, it's a bit vague.
Like, are we bringing Zeus snacks and offering life advice? What does that look like?
That's exactly what Socrates wants to know.
I bet.
He starts using these kind of ridiculous comparisons like, is attending to the gods like attending to horses?
Chuckles. Okay, I get it. It's a funny image.
Right.
But I see what he's getting at. It's absurd.
It is. It's like, what could we possibly offer these all-powerful gods that they don't already have?
It's like trying to explain the internet to someone who invented the computer.
Exactly. It just doesn't quite add up. And this is where this whole idea of piety being like a transaction comes into play.
A transaction.
Yeah, like a cosmic exchange between humans and the divine.
So are we talking about things like sacrifices and offerings? Like, if I give the gods a really nice goat, they'll bless my crops.
Basically. It's like we're trying to strike a deal with the universe. I'll do this and you'll do that.
But that feels kind of shallow, doesn't it? Like we're just trying to buy the favor of the gods.
Exactly.
Yeah, like some cosmic vending machine. I put in my offerings and I get my blessings outright.
Yeah, it's a little too neat and tidy, don't you think? But it plays into this deeper question that Socrates keeps coming back to.
Which is,
If the gods are really all-powerful, all-knowing, what could we possibly give them that they don't already have?
right. It's like, what do you give a god who has everything?
Exactly. And if we can't give them anything they need, then this whole idea of a trade kind of falls apart, right?
Okay, I see that. So where does Euthyphro go from here? He has to have some other argument up his sleeve.
Well, he gives it one last shot. He says maybe piety isn't about material things. Maybe it's about giving the gods honor and gratitude.
Okay, so more about respect and acknowledging their power, not just giving them stuff.
Right, like we're recognizing them and showing appreciation. But even here, Socrates sees a problem.
Of course he does. What is it this time?
He points out that if piety is what's dear to the gods and we say honor and gratitude are dear to them, haven't we just gone in a circle?
Oh, I see. We're back to square one. We haven't actually defined piety at all.
Exactly. And that's where the dialogue ends. No neat definition, no easy answers.
So what's the takeaway? Plato just leaves us hanging.
In a way, yes. And that's the beauty of it. He's not trying to give us all the answers. He wants us to think for ourselves.
It's like he's saying, here's some tools, now go explore these big questions yourself.
Exactly. And these questions about piety, justice, morality, they're not just ancient history, they're still relevant today.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a good person? What are our values based on? It makes you think.
Right. And in a world that's always looking for quick and easy answers, maybe taking the time to really grapple with these big questions is more important than ever.
I love that. So if there's one thing our listeners can take away from this deep dive into Plato's Euthyphro, what would it be?
Question everything. Don't just accept things at face value. Dig deeper, and don't be afraid of those big, uncomfortable questions.
I love that. Embrace the unknown. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Plato's Euthyphro. Until next time.